Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Fastest Podcast. I'm joined today by two people that you will know from podcasts before, but I have not yet recorded with. And it is, of course, Dan and Abhishek. How are you both?
Hi, you can refer
Hey.
to me as Dogra. It's much more simpler that way.
Yeah, that'd be a bit easier. How are you, Dan?
All good, all good.
Good stuff. It's good to have you both here for what promises to be a very exciting podcast. It's the same podcast, it's just in a different direction. It discusses everything from the greatest overtakes to the fastest pit stops. And speaking of the fastest pit stop, gents, we are in race week now. It's Belgium race week. We are the Monday of the race week. Obviously,
Okay.
race is Sunday. So I'm going to start this podcast off with a little bit of a question for you both. We'll start with you, Dan. I want you to give me which driver is going to have the fastest pit stop, and obviously which team it will be as well.
I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. They've been on it this year. So let's go Lewis.
Yeah, Dogra, what's yours?
I'm going with Ferrari. I'm not going to say a specific driver yet, but I'm going to go with Ferrari. I think they've had the fastest pit stops for the past consecutive races for now.
Yeah, they've had the most fastest pit stops this season for sure. So yeah, well, there we go. We will revisit them on Sunday's post-race podcast. I don't know if we'll have Dan or if we'll have Dogra with us, but we will still revisit them. We'll see if either of them got it right. But today's podcast, we're discussing something interesting going on for 2026. Obviously, we're in 2025 now. We've got 12 races down. We've got 12 races to go. In 2026, we are gaining a 11th team on the grid, and it is, of course, Cadillac. But we are awaiting to find out who is going to drive for them. We thought we'd find out in the summer break. We haven't, but we are looking at some heavy links at the moment, gents, aren't we? We've got
Yep.
Bottas and Perez, two drivers who have recently been out of contract. Obviously, Perez, most notably a Red Bull after some poor performances. Dan, what's your take on both of those drivers being linked?
I think for a new team like Cadillac, it's a no-brainer getting a driver with years and years of experience in F1. Both race winners. They've stood on the podium multiple times. They also both know what it's like to fight towards the back of the grid, in the midfield, and at the front. So, depending where Cadillac come in, you would assume they would be towards the back of the grid, possibly challenging the midfield. I think either Bottas or Perez, they're a safe pair of hands, and they also know how to develop the cars, and I think that could be key as Cadillac go forwards into further seasons. So both or one or the other, I think it's perfect for them.
Yeah, as you said, they're developing the car. It's such a huge thing in the world of F1. Bottas and Perez both have years of experience, multiple race wins under their belts, working in the two of the probably most successful periods and eras of two teams at the time. Dogra, what do you make of those two? If those two drivers were to be a pairing, what kind of knowledge do you think they could bring to a team that is just starting up?
I mean, I think Dan already said that they've had experience driving for multiple points of the same field, back, middle, front. And not only that, we're also forgetting the fact that they've been teammates with two of the greatest drivers in Formula One
Yeah.
history, both of them. And I feel like that also speaks a lot about the two of them. They may not have been able to catch up to them or race against them side by side, but they were also very big contributing factors to the fact that their teams had so many successful years, to the point that I think Perez also contributed to around 3 wins of Red Bull for 2023.
Yeah.
Just one win shy of the perfect season for Red Bull. But and Bottas obviously is still Lewis Hamilton's favorite teammate to date. So I feel like that compare along with their experience as a driver in Formula One, I feel like Cadillac would be in a very, very great pair of hands if either one of the drivers showed up. Though I feel like Cadillac won't be signing both of them together, because I feel like they would want an experienced driver paired with a younger driver, which is what most of the teams do. But I hope to see one of them. My bias is towards Bottas, obviously. I hope to see more of him on the paddock, even though he is not currently an active driver. We are seeing him, and he has been doing a lot of teases on Twitter. I've seen his post.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of jokes, and people are like, "Huh, what is this guy doing?" So it's not just speculation. It's also the fact that Bottas is playing around with that thing, that all those rumors and all, and it just, instead of turning that rumor into a joke, he's like solidifying that experience, and I really hope to see him back in the car soon.
Yeah, and it's like you said there. Obviously, Bottas is putting in little Easter eggs, little hints onto Instagram and onto Twitter. But there's also the tweet from the official Cadillac account that had the Mexican flag, and I believe it was to tick. So we could be looking at either one of them done. But as you said, the potential of both of them being there, it's like the opposite of what most teams do. They get young drivers in, they build for the future. Cadillac are kind of doing the opposite. They're getting experienced drivers in, and they're using that to build for the future, develop the car well and quickly with people with knowledge, and then the young drivers can come in. So, what do you kind of, Dogra, what do you make of that in terms of doing it the opposite way? To instead of young drivers start, it's a kind of experienced drivers give them the stepping stone to move forwards into young drivers.
I would say that that'd be a great thing for Cadillac themselves, because so both Red Bull and Mercedes have had vastly different cars in the coming like for the past few years. I mean, I think the closest competition they had was 2020, and after that, their cars went in separate directions. Some were some good, some bad, but both the drivers have experienced cars that are wildly different from each other, and they can combine that experience together to form a car that is actually competitive. It may not be competitive to the front field, because we might be seeing some really, really high competition next year, especially with Mercedes. But considering the fact that Bottas is currently a driver for Mercedes, may not a main driver, a reserve, I feel like his experience on the car and Checo's, obviously he's a far more senior driver in the competition. The Cadillac has an option to develop the car that they want. That might not put them on the back marker, but it might put them in the midfield or even in the top field if they play their cards right.
Yeah, and obviously, as you said there, it's two experienced drivers. Bottas still with Mercedes at the moment, but Bottas is coming off the back of being dropped by Mercedes, moving into a Sauber team, not really having the best car to perform. So he is kind of diminished to the point that even he was then dropped by Sauber. Perez as well, you look at his end, enough's been said about that, spoken about the whole rumours of is he going to keep his contract, is he going to get replaced mid-season? Obviously, it would have been tough for him. So, in terms of that, Dad, if you look at do they both have what it takes still, or will their previous endeavours in being dropped from the teams they were with, Bottas with Mercedes, and then Sauber, Perez with everything that happened at Red Bull, not just being dropped, everything. Do you think that could play a part in maybe they are experienced drivers, but potentially their talent isn't quite at their peak where we know they can be and have been in the past?
I think if you look at Bottas last season, the Sauber was just the worst car on the grid. I don't really think you can judge his performances specifically on last season. If you look towards the beginning of last season, Sauber actually Bottas was actually fighting for points until there were a few botched pit stops. He was dragging that car to places it shouldn't really be. I think Bottas getting dropped was more about Audi coming in. It was about Audi. They wanted a German driver, so they got Hulkenberg, and they wanted a youngster who could, learn off him. So they brought in Bortoleto, who he could be, a force in the championship further down. So I think that's why Bottas was dropped. Don't forget that even this season he's linked to a move to Alpine. He could be replacing Colapinto because they're of their driver situation there. So, I mean, Bottas could end up driving for Alpine for this season, so he's getting back into the groove before moving to the Cadillac potentially. Going to Perez, I think he just completely lost his confidence. He'd been destroyed for 3 seasons by Verstappen. I mean, everyone gets destroyed by Verstappen, but the way he was doing it,
Yeah, on another level kind of thing, wasn't it?
He just kind of fell off a cliff, really. But you also got to remember that Red Bull angle their cars, design their cars for Verstappen. And not many people can drive those cars. So, Perez was doing fantastic things at Force India and Sauber. And despite what happened at Red Bull, yes, mistakes were creeping in. Is that because he was having to overdrive to push the car forward? You've seen what's happening this year with Lawson and Tsunoda. They're both good drivers, and they're nowhere. Lawson was nowhere in the Red Bull. Tsunoda is currently nowhere. I think Perez still has another good year or two in him for a midfield team.
Yeah, and I think people forget about someone's talent when they have one bad season. People forget about people's talent like Lewis Hamilton when he has one bad race. Everyone starts, you see all the Twitter and the Instagram comments of Hamilton's finished, Hamilton's washed. And it's like you said, Dan, the car is so angled, the Red Bull car is so angled towards Max Verstappen that Perez just couldn't get his driving style out. He won in Force India in the COVID season at the Sakir Grand Prix. He took that car to places it should never have been, like what you said Bottas done with the Sauber. They both have talent. I think in the back of the mind is always, especially with Perez, has what's happened recently with the Red Bull issues that went on and everything behind the scenes that would have affected him so much. Is that going to linger on behind him a bit if he goes and gets this Cadillac seat? He obviously isn't the only one that's linked, Bottas and Perez. There were loose links with Daniel Ricciardo, which I think, as we've seen now, he isn't going to be coming back, which is unfortunate. Everyone loves to see Danny Rick on the grid, but we don't think he'll be coming back. But then you've got to look at any other options, and some links that we've seen: Mick Schumacher, Zhou Guanyu, even Jack Doohan, who's been dropped from Alpine this season. We know he's got talent. We've seen it in F2, we've seen it in F1. He wasn't notoriously bad in his 6 races, but you can't give a rookie 6 races and expect them to be incredible. So in terms of 3 rookies, Mick, Zhou and Doohan, who are probably the rookies with or the youngsters with the heaviest links at the moment, what do you make of it? What's the kind of, if I'd say, what's the benefits of a young driver in the team, Dan? What would you say about that?
A young driver, you can build the car around them. You've got a focal point where you can be like, you're the guy I'm going to hedge my bets on. We've got an experienced driver. You can learn off them. And the youngster could be there 4, 5, 6 years and really push the team forwards. He's going to know the team inside out by the time they could potentially be challenging for wins. And, they could potentially be learning off 2 really, really good drivers. Going on to Mick Schumacher, he kind of fell off with Haas. It didn't work out for him, but he is rebuilding his career in endurance racing.
Yeah.
This season, he's having a solid season with Alpine in endurance, and personally, I would like to see Mick given a shot.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you can say he was with Haas and it didn't work out, and I don't think it did work out with Haas, but they were in a process at the time of, they wanted 2 young drivers to build the car, but their car was so on the floor in terms of performance because they were building for a year ahead. Then you've got Mazepin in the team, who, no, the less said about him, the better. We'll just avoid it. But Mick Schumacher is again a driver who is living up to a legacy of a name, which is very unfortunate for him. He needs to be his own driver in his own right, which unfortunately he will never be. He'll always be compared to his father, 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher. It's a shadow that is such a horrible shadow to live in. And then if you look at Zhou Guanyu, a driver who came in, he had a good few seasons with Sauber, but again, there was never really a vocal point in that where you looked at his performance and you thought, wow, this guy's going to take it to the next level. He's going to be driving for Ferrari. He's going to be world champion. So you got both of those drivers, and you can't compare Jack Doohan to them with 6 races under his belt. He hasn't been given, or 7 races if you include Abu Dhabi. He's not been given time to really prove himself. But in terms of Mick and Zhou, with Mick now having left F1 and gone to endurance racing, Zhou not really setting the world alight, do they have what it takes to become Formula One drivers again, Dobra? Oh, I think we've unfortunately lost Dogger a few technical difficulties. It does happen. This podcast and it didn't happen because of my technical difficulties, so we can all hold our hands up. Yeah, Dan, do you want to sort of take on that question a little bit? Just do they have what it takes as young drivers, still having been F1 and then left F1?
I mean, Zhou is still the test and reserve driver for Ferrari, so he is getting experience this season, not competitively, but he's still helping the team. He's doing the simulator, working in the simulators,
Simulator testing,
and you have to remember he was actually teammates with Bottas at Sauber, so they could bring the two together, gel them back together. Did they work well or not? That's for behind the scenes, but bringing them both back as teammates could be a viable option.
Yeah. Dogra, as unfortunately would have just missed there, Dan made a very good point with Zhou about him being teammates with Bottas previously at Sauber. Could that be a good fit for Cadillac next season?
I think actually, yeah, because they've worked with each other, they know each other's preferences, each other's, I feel like they have a dynamic that wouldn't hinder Cadillac's performance, because you make a new pair of drivers and you expect them to work together. It takes a while, especially if they're like from different teams, different personalities, and you know what? At first it goes like what, peanut butter and Skittles.
Yeah.
But then, in case of Bottas and Guan Yu, I'd say they're PB and J. They can actually work well together. Cadillac gets the perfect pairing of a young driver paired with an experienced one. Actually, a very good duo to have. But would Cadillac take the risk? I mean, it's always a risk whenever you're signing a new driver.
Yeah, well, it's a risk for Lewis Hamilton when Ferrari signed him, and he's a 7-time world champion. And if that's a risk, it's going to be a risk for Cadillac to sign anyone, isn't it?
Fair. I wouldn't say it was a risk for Lewis Hamilton. It was more of a risk for Ferrari, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know that's controversial, but it was. Ferrari was signing a 7-time world champion that people were calling washed. And again, Ferrari has been hearing the word washed for since 2007, ever since Kimi Raikkonen won his last, won the last championship for Ferrari. Ferrari has been called washed. They were quite, but for some reason they've been consistently placing second or third in the constructors anyway. So
They
as a
somehow
Ferrari
find a
fan,
way.
it's more of hope or it's scope. I don't know what it is, but I really want to see them bounce back up. But again, we're not discussing that. Guan Yu has experience behind a Ferrari. He has experience behind Sauber. Valtteri has experience behind Mercedes and then Sauber. So I feel like they're coming from two different directions and then converging into one, which I think can be very beneficial for Cadillac.
Yeah, and
Especially when especially when their main focus would be to create a car faster than to create a team that works. Because
yeah,
having a car means that you can actually start competing before you start building the rest of the team.
yeah, and it's as you said, Dan, with Joe, he's still Ferrari's reserve driver. He would have been in that simulator. He would have been already working on the 2026 car. He's got a bit of an advantage in knowing how Ferrari are doing it at the moment,
Yeah.
how development for 2026 is coming along. But everyone needs to remember, we have absolutely no idea what Cadillac's development has been like, how long they've been developing a 2026 car, while other teams have been focusing on the 2025 car before moving to 2026. They might be ahead of everyone. They might come in and win the first race. They might come in and they'll be dead last, 21st and 22nd. Nobody knows how it is. It's such an unpredictable thing. And a lot of it, as this whole discussion has been about, does rest on which two drivers they can bring in. So if I had to say to both of you now, Dogra, we'll start with you. I want to give you to give me two names right now. Who's going to be in those Cadillac seats?
It's not a very easy question to answer, but I would be hoping for a pairing of Bottas and Guan Yu.
Yeah, Dan.
I'll say Bottas and Schumacher. But the thing going in, I would say, in Joe's favour is, like you said, he knows about the Ferrari 2026. Cadillac is using the Ferrari engine in 26. So that might be an advantage for them.
Yeah. If I had to put two names on it, I'd want Mick and I'd want Perez in there. I want Perez to get a bit of a redemption, show what he can do before he bows out. And I think, as you said, Bottas has got a chance at Alpine still, with the second driver's seat just being so up in the air that you don't know what's going to happen there. But that's the Cadillac talk. However, we're not done yet. So I've teased it to Dan a little bit, and I'm gonna bring it out now. We're gonna do a few podcasts, especially ones like this, and we're gonna end it with a little game.
Okay.
So we're gonna start off with Dan in this because he actually turned up yesterday and we were meant to record. Sorry, Dogra. We are looking for, this is a game of top 10. We are looking for the top 10 race winners since the year 2000 who have not won a world championship. So you'll alternate back and forth until we get either all 10 or until you just can't figure it out. And then we'll see if the comments can do it.
All right.
So Dan, you're up first. We are looking for the top 10 race winners since 2000 who have not won a world championship.
I'll start with Bottas.
Bottas is number 4 with 10 race wins. Dogra, you're up.
Kubica.
Kubica is not in the top 10 list.
Damn it.
He was. I was looking. He was just outside it actually. He's not in the top 10 list. So round 1 is 1-0 to Dan. We're back to you now.
Mark Webber.
Mark Webber just underneath Bottas. He is at number 5 with 9 race wins.
Rubens Barrichello.
And Rubens Barrichello, you're kind of staying in the same areas. Rubens Barrichello, number 3 with 11 race wins. So round 2, it's now 2-1 to Dan. Back to you.
Sergio Perez.
Sergio Perez is not in the list. He is again a driver that is just outside of that list.
Oh, Wait, since 2000, right? Since the year 2000?
Post 2000, 10 top 10 race winners, non-world champions.
That's quite the list then. Um, I mean, Mark Webber was a big name there. Um, my mind goes blank whenever it's things like these.
These
Charles
games really
Leclerc.
catch you out.
Charles
Charles
Leclerc.
Leclerc is number 7. He has 8 race wins and counting at the moment with him on the current grid. That's 2-2.
Montoya.
Oh, that was one I didn't think people would get. Dan, Juan Pablo Montoya, 9th place with 7 race wins. That is one of the shouts of the round.
Thank you.
Pablo Montoya. Now that's a name that I haven't heard in a while, actually.
Blast from the past name, that one.
Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz is not on the list either.
Damn, man.
All of these drivers, the non-world champions, you're in single figures of race wins, and they're all very, very close to each other. So back to you, Dan. With a lead of 3-2.
This one's a bit. Fisichella.
No Fisichella either. Well, we're back over to Dogra. It's a bit of tennis going on right now.
Oscar Piastri.
Now, this will give you your benchmark. Oscar Piastri is 10th with 7 race wins. So it's 3-3. 3 apiece.
Lando Norris.
Lando Norris is in there, 8 race wins. He's 8th place on the table.
Does Ralph Schumacher count?
He is not on the list. No. And you've got 3 names left to mention here. And I'll give you, as we come back to Dan, come back to the start, so I'll give you one little hint. 2 of the drivers on the list are ex-Red Bull. 2 of the remaining 3 are ex-Red Bull.
I think I know David Coulthard.
Just got the number 1 spot, David Coulthard, Big DC, with 13 race wins.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was pre-2000. Number 2, Felipe Massa. So Dan,
I know the last one.
you got the chance to steal it 6-4 and win it. I think you know.
I can't believe it's taken this long.
Say his name.
Is it Danny Rick?
It's the honey badger himself. It's Daniel Ricciardo for a 6-4 win to Dan. So Dan is, as I will call it actually, Dan is going to be named as our first top 10 champion. Can he retain his title next time against our next guest? Who knows? Depends on what the top 10 is. Depends on how his F1 knowledge is. We'll have to wait and find out, won't we? Dogra, any words? Any commiseration words from yourself? I'm sure you'll be back to take on the champion again another time, or maybe you'll be the champion of a different game going forwards in the future, eh? But that will help bring us to the end of that. I think no better way to end it than boosting Dan's ego. And unfortunately, it does mean bringing Dogra down to the floor, but he will lift himself back up another time, I'm sure. Yeah. we'll have another game. He'll take on Dan again, and I'm sure next time you're gonna take over and you're gonna be the reigning champion. But how many? Let us know in the comments. How many of those top 10 did you get? Are you better than Dan? Would you if you took him on? Would you be able to beat him, or would you have a bit of a donut down on the floor? Did you not get any of them? Make sure as well you do. Well, you got 4. Four's respectable. 4's just under the halfway mark. So yeah, let us know if you got less than 4, you got more than 6, you got all 10, or you got 0. Make sure that you leave a like on the video because it does help us out a lot. It boosts the podcast up as well. And make sure that you subscribe and you turn the notification bell on. Then you can watch any future podcasts that we post. We're going to have lots of different guests going forwards, lots of different pairings, post-race podcasts, pre-race previews, pre-weekend previews, and just random chats like this about all things F1 in what is the fastest podcast. From Dan and Dogra, I'm sure it's goodbye.
Bye.
And from me, it is goodbye. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.